Hey everyone, what's doing? Just down at Newmarket Yearling sales, the old Newmarket Yearling sale yards, which was Australia's main yearling sales, racehorse sales back in the day during the Easter Carnival. It's now been sold off into and built into a residential unit complex of nice home units. There's still remnants here of the old history of the place, some of the old buildings and the old fig tree, which I'll show you. And I was just reminiscing after going to the march on Friday and watching our brave soldiers march on Anzac Day, and just sitting down here this morning having a coffee reflecting. I just thought, I'll just do a quick walk and show you some of the stuff that's been left over and some of the photos. And also a quick talk about the election. I've already posted a couple of videos on that, as you know, and I'll just walk through, have a quick talk, what my feelings are, where we're heading, and let you have a look at this great historical complex. So I'm just standing outside the famous fig tree. Now, I don't know how many yearlings were bought by trainers and owners under this famous fig tree, which has been fully preserved over the history of the complex and the sale yards, but it would have been in its thousands or tens of thousands. So when you're normally a day's sales, you're probably at about 300 lots in a day being sold, yearlings, and a lot of them were bought and bids were yelled out under this tree here. And I can remember in my youth, the first $1 million yearling that was sold in Australia was bought here at Newmarket sale yards. Now, as you can see, it's been redeveloped. They've sold off now, and it's been moved out to Warwick Farm, southwestern Sydney, where Warwick Farm Racecourse is, out that way. And they've redeveloped it into a nice residential unit complex with commercial downstairs, or restaurants, which is very, very nice. Cafes and restaurants, just on Barker Street, Randwick, across the road from the hospital. Yes, a trainer called Bartholomew Cummings, one of Australia's greatest trainers. He's trained 12 Melbourne Cup winners, highest number of 12 Melbourne Cup winners, probably Australia, and he's definitely in the top 3 trainers in Australian history. Bought on behalf of a syndicate of people the first $1 million yearling, and I'm pretty sure he was under the fig tree when he bought it, so he was yelling out the bids from under this tree. And I remember as a kid, when the hammer went down, I think it was old Reg Inglis, or one of the old auctioneers. The Inglis family owned the complex and ran the sales. It was their business, William Inglis and Sons, and I remember him banging down the gavel going, $1 million, twice, or once, twice, 3 times, any more, last chance, any more, $1 million, I sell it down, boom, and the gavel went down, and he said, thank you very much, bought on behalf of Mr. Bart Cummings. And I thought, gee, you know, that was a long time ago now, back in the 80s, I reckon, around about the mid-80s, late 80s. And I think it was a horse called Paint the Stars. And I think it didn't do anything as a racehorse. It wasn't much good on the track. I think it had about 4 or 5 starts and ran last at each of them. If anyone's got any history on that, let me know. But it was a horse called Paint the Stars. And so it just goes to say there's no guarantees on bloodlines in racing. Like there's no guarantees on bloodlines with human beings. So You can go through the catalogue and do all the genealogy and everything and think, oh, this thing's going to be an absolute champion, and can turn out to be the biggest stud of all time. You've just paid a couple of $1 million for it, or $1 million back in the day. So, and then you can buy a horse for 20,000 and it turns out to be an absolute champion. So, yes, the great old history of Australian racing. Now, along here, this is actually where this complex is now, with the swings and everything for the kids. This was the big arena where they used to bring the horses in, and they used to bring them in around the side, over the other side there. They had big stables right around the complex, and the auctioneers, which they've kept the auctioneers box. I'll just walk up to it. This little box here. This little box here sold, or not the box, but auctioneers in this little box here sold hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Australian yearlings, Australian 2-year-old, 2-year-old thoroughbred race horses. And you can still see a little bit of the amphitheatre where they've kept some of the stand there and the steps. So, yeah, so they bring the horses in, lead them around the circle here, and then everyone will be standing there in the stands, and you can see the big, I'll just walk around here so have another view of the old fig tree over there, straight ahead, and they'd all be standing under the fig tree and bidding for the horses. It's very exciting, very, very exciting when you're sitting there and there's 3 or 4 parties that, want to buy a racehorse, and, the bidding's up to, high amounts of money. Well, these days I buy them for tens of millions of dollars, for breeding and all that sort of stuff. So it's very exciting. I'll just show you here back under the fig tree some of the old photos they've kept too of back in the old days, so I hope you can see them. This would have been back in the 30s and the 40s, that one. You can see them leading the horse around. Everyone's standing and sitting there looking to buy their potential champion. There's another one, more modern. That's when the new complex was built and they put the grandstand in. So you could actually sit in the grandstand, which wrapped around the sale yard, and they brought the horses in and walked them around the grandstand there. And you can see in the back there, or in the middle of the photo, there's the old fig tree. So you can see, there you go. So there you can see all the people standing under the fig tree. That was a very popular spot when they were selling the horses. That was, yeah, so that was when the main grandstand was built. And here's another old photo here. 1927, this one. This one's 1927. So you can see it was all pretty basic back in those days. But you can see all the people along the fence there, wrapped around the fence. They're bringing the yearling sales in, the yearlings in, horses in for sale. Yeah, so famous old place, a big part of Australian history, this place. Very big part of Australian history and racing history. Some of the champions that have, or many champions have been brought out of this sale yard. Now I'll just walk over to the old English homestead, which has been heritage listed. The English family. All the kids are playing on the swings and everything. This beautiful old home here was the old English home. The Englishes ran the sale yards. They were the owners of the sale yards. And that's the old English home there back in the day. And that's all been heritage listed. So they can't touch that. So there's been as you can see with the development, they've built the units around that. There's still some stages to go with this development. Most of it, probably about 50% of it's been done, I reckon. Across the road there, they've started on the new development across the road where a lot of the stables where they used to house a lot of the horses. And just to show you the old stables, which some of them have been heritage listed, I'll just walk down here. You can see this is all new. I'm walking along here now, along the new development, but this used to be all stables down here to house the horses. Because during the sale, it went over about a week, and there was lots and lots of young horses bought down to go into the sale yard to be sold. So hundreds and hundreds of horses over about 7 or 8 days during the Easter Carnival. So we had the racing carnival, which obviously we all know about, the Sydney Easter Racing Carnival with the Derby and the Doncaster and all that sort of stuff. And then the sales was in the middle of that. And I can remember as a kid with my family, we used to, my grandmother, we all used to go to the races, and a lot of our, well, not my friends, but my grandmother's friends and parents' friends from the country used to come down for the Easter Racing Carnival in Sydney. We'd have big it'd always be a couple of big parties on, and then we'd all go to the races and the yearling sales. So what I'm showing you now is part of Australia's history. So that's one of the stable buildings there that's been preserved. So that's all heritage listed. And that gives you a time shot back in the day of where the horses were stabled and kept. The yearlings, the young horses. So I'll just walk around the side to give you an idea. Yep, there you go. Yeah, it's fantastic how they've kept and preserved the heritage of this place. Now this is only about, if you walked to Randwick, for no more than 15-minute walk to Randwick Racecourse. So it was a very, very big thing during Easter that people from all around Australia used to come into the down for the racing carnival, especially country people. Come down and stay for a week or 2 weeks. Go to the racing carnival over that 2-week period, the Doncaster, Derby, Sydney Cup, all those great races. And then if they felt lucky and had some money, they'd come down and try their luck with buying a yearling. The other thing with this famous old complex is that because of our racing heritage in this country, which is probably the best in the world, people from all around the world used to come here and buy yearlings. You know, the Arab sheiks and people from America and all around the world used to come and buy our horses, you know. So it's got a very rich and famous history. And it got me thinking. I went into the march on Friday, and I'll just continue to walk, and I was just paying respects to our brave soldiers over the last 100 or so years that have gone into combat for this country. I think we've lost over 100,000 soldiers in our time so far. And sitting down here today having a coffee, thinking about the history of our country and what people have done before, have gone before us and sacrificed their lives. And I looked up the betting on the election, and currently they've got on sports bets got $5 Dutton and $1.16 Albanese. And I've just gone, my God, $5 and $1.16. What do these people know that we don't? What do these bookmakers know that we don't? So then they very seldom get it wrong, the bookies. So to have this bloke at $1.16, they must think he's across the line already. So look, the thing about this election to me, and I've put a couple of videos on, is people are just still going to vote for the party, for Albanese, with all the carnage that they've created over the last 3 years, with the cost of living, trying to get this disinformation bill passed, which, you know, the Australian people stood up, thank God, and rejected. You know, to try and tell us to censor free speech. You know, the mass immigration that this party's brought into the country. You know, something like upwards of between 1.5 to 2 million people in the space of about 18 months, flooding the country. And I think I've said this on a previous video. You know, one of my children was running around looking at places to rent. One of my young son, and well, he's not young anymore. He's an adult, but he was running around trying to find a place to rent. And you know, he was turning up to places where there was 100 applicants on them. You know. So we had to go and live with his partner's parents' place at Manly for 18 months to 2 years. So all this madness has been going on. Then you've got the cost of living through all this environmental ideology madness, which has just gone absolutely on steroids with the Environment Minister, Bowen, who's absolutely insane, just spending money like a drunken sailor, our money, Australian taxpayers' money, on all this environmental stuff, and giving it to all these billionaires who have just, like Twiggy Forrest and all these other, Cannon Brooks and all these other billionaires that just go and do what they want to do with the money without virtually no accountability at all. It's beyond belief. And this bloke is now, the Labor Party is $1.16 to win the election. So, I don't know. I just don't know. As I've said before, I just don't know where we're heading in this country. You know, last June, which was never reported in the mainstream media, the Health Minister signed off on all these enhancements. He gave the World Health Organisation, the WHO, more enhanced powers by signing off all these documents over there. So all this stuff's been going on, which is just equals control and restriction. Control and restrictions on our freedoms. You know? So the other main thing before I finish, which is really important to know, that any voters out there that are, you know, still thinking about who they're going to vote for, if the Labor Party get up, and as it stands at the moment, with the, you know, looking at the bookmakers' prices, looks like they're home and hosed. based on current markets, he's going to be the Prime Minister for the next 3 years and beholden to that radical socialist ratbag, Adam Bandt from the Greens, because he's going to rule. Albanese will what they're saying is he's going to win the election with a minority government. So he needs the Greens to get him across the line to hold power. So this ratbag, Adam Bandt, who did his doctorate in Marxism, on Karl Marx, communism, did his thesis on communism, is going to hold the Labor Party to ransom. And some of the stuff that this bloke wants to do, he wants to abolish capital gains tax. He wants to abolish the discounts on capital gains tax. He wants to abolish negative gearing. All this these policies he wants to bring in, which is just going to create carnage to the Australian people's wealth, and restrict on our freedoms. So, if you're thinking at the moment of voting Labor, it's a free country, do what you like, but a vote for Labor is a vote for the Greens, with this bloke Adam Bandt. The other thing I want to say about this guy is he doesn't even stand behind the Australian flag when he addresses the public. That's how radical this absolute grub is. He doesn't, when he's addressing the public or doing a news conference or whatever, being interviewed on the news from Parliament, he doesn't address the Australian people. He doesn't have the Australian flag behind him. So I just want to throw my 2 bobs worth in and thought that, I think that we need to really sit down and think about that. Now, there's a percentage of people in this country that'll just, look, they're just left, they're radical left, they couldn't care less about Australia, they couldn't care less about our history. They're, for whatever reason, they're just dirty on being in this country and being alive. They're just, you say black, they'll, if it's black, they'll say it's white. You're not going to be able to convince those people. But if you're a swing voter, you're a moderate, Labor voter, moderate lefty or a moderate conservative, and you're thinking about, maybe I'll vote for Albanese again, or I'm going to vote for Dutton or whatever. Please think about what you're doing. A vote for this bloke Albanese is a vote for Adam Bandt. He will own him. Adam Bandt will own Albanese in the Labor Party, because they won't be able to do anything without his support. So God knows what he's going to hold them to ransom over. So that's not good. It is not good. And some of the radical ideas this bloke's got to just shred people's wealth and our freedom of speech is just terrifying, absolutely terrifying. So please think about what you're doing. What I'm doing, I'll be voting for, as I said, one of the conservative freedom parties. And then I'll be preferencing the Liberals after that. I think the Liberals have got a lot to do to come back to the middle ground as well. But I will be putting Labor, the Teals and Greens last. So, if I was voting Liberal, then I'd put the Liberals on the ticket first. Then I'd put the freedom parties, I'd preference the freedom parties next. And then the Labor, Greens and Teals would be last on my ticket. And the same if I'm exactly the same thing. If I'm going to vote for the Conservative Freedom Parties first, then I'll put the Liberals after preferencing the Freedom Parties, and then again Labor, Teals, and the Greens last. So whatever I do, the cabal of the Labor Party, the Greens, and the Teals will be last on my ballot sheet. So, look, that's all I wanted to say. A nice little tour of Newmarket. Great piece of Australian history. Watching those people march in Sydney on Friday, what they've done for our country, the lives that have been sacrificed for our country over the last 100 odd years. And you've got these people sitting in places of influence and power, like this psycho, Adam, this resentful little jealous little creep, Adam Bant, who couldn't care less about this country, but feeds off the taxpayer, puts his hand out for about 10,000 a week sitting down there in Canberra. This little grub who did his thesis and doctrine in Marxism is now looking at holding the Australian people to ransom if the Labor Party win the election. It's beyond belief. It's beyond belief. So please, 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 before you go and vote, do your research, review, take 40, look, we all live busy lives, I get it, especially young people raising families, you haven't got enough hours in the day, I get it, I've been there. But please, you've got to find an hour just to switch off in the car, I don't care where it is, to just do your homework and understand what's going on, or what the ramifications of next week's election could mean to this nation and our children's futures. So God bless everyone. Once again, for me, I don't care, if you vote Liberal or you vote for the Conservative Independent Freedom Parties, which I'll be doing. Labor, under all circumstances, whether you vote Liberal first or the Conservative Freedom Parties, Labor, Greens and Teals have to be last you have to take serious attention in the ballot box when you go and vote, in the booth. You have to make sure that if you believe in what I'm saying and you agree with what I'm saying, you have to make sure that the Greens, Labor and Teals are last on your voting sheets next week under all circumstances. Okay, love everyone, God bless everyone, and God bless our great nation of Australia. Cheers.